You guys remember the M56 from the road trip that I talked about, and I was referring to the coolant spill. Here it is. So now that I have another car to compare to, this is what I realized. This was the main problem. This was the original problem, if we can get the light properly, that this hose over here that comes out of the thermostat housing had some crud, and I think that's where it was spilling from. It only makes sense. So let's jump to this one here, and you'll notice something similar or quirky. This one here, being at 145,000 miles, doesn't have any blue spill, but we realize that, well, for one, he doesn't have an engine undercover, so maybe road water washed it. That's a little far-fetched, honestly. But I did notice that it does have some sort of crud. So it's either it's happened in the past or it's happening to a lesser extent. But either way, you notice this one has crud. This one has a little bit of it, but not too much, not on there. So this is my theory. This is what makes sense to me with my experience in materials. Basically, there's something inherent in this metal here, this metal joint. Either it has a leak path, or the material, being that it's not exactly similar to this one, because I mean, if there was the exact same joint and all that, this one should have had the same kind of problem that this one does, but it doesn't. This upper radiator hose does not have that problem in either car. This one here, what I'm thinking is either the manufacturing allows a defect in a way, or two, it's, well, just doesn't hold tight enough for whatever reason. But this is what happens. So coolant is a solution, basically salts and water. And what happens is when you have a little bit of coolant leaking because of a gap or whatever the reason might be, you have a little bit of coolant leaking, the water evaporates with heat and time, because water evaporates at every temperature, and the coolant crystallizes whatever green stuff you have there. And I can't seem to get my old ones because I know, oh, here you go, here you go. Here's a nice one right here. Check this out. Holy reflective. So yeah, this is a VK45DE, but I figured it would be a pretty good demonstration for what it is. See that? Sometimes aluminum gets that stuff. I think from experience it's mainly aluminum reacting with water. So if you ever run your system, see the white stuff in there? If you ever run your system like on an improper mixture of water and antifreeze, you're more likely to run into that. Either way, crystallization happens, as you've seen there. And when it happens, a leak happens, evaporation happens, crystallization happens, and as you would guess, when you have a rubber hose clamping on that, it's not going to make a very good seal. So what happens is that, wow, I keep just flaking them off. So what happens is that this stuff, this swelling over here, ends up creating a larger leak path for more coolant to go through. And the more coolant goes through, water evaporates, more salts get deposited, and bigger leak path. And so you have this cycle basically goes on. So again, on the VK45DEs, this is where it happened, up top on the upper radiator hose, and it is more intuitively possible for me, because this being one of the highest points in the car, it's gonna see an air gap, and that, in my experience, again helps with the is it hydroxidation or oxidation? Maybe just plain oxidation. But basically you have hydroxides or oxides forming over here, and that is in the presence of air because you have air exposed if you don't keep your system all the way full. So again, as I said, it's pretty odd here that nothing is happening to the top filler neck, or rather the top radiator hose, which is the filler neck right here, but it's happening to the bottom one. But then I realized something with the VK45DEs, this guy right here, they had plastic thermostat housings. Your lower, I don't know why this is all the way in the way, it shouldn't be here, it should be bent all the way out. But so your lower radiator hose comes in here, and you have a thermostat over there to, regulate everything. So these guys were plastic, and you rarely, if ever, saw that kind of crud formation on the plastic ones. So part of my experiment is going to be trying to make this one work over there onto the VK56. I don't know why they went to metal. You'd think plastic was cheaper, huh? I mean, it worked perfectly. They didn't really have any failures. So as I said, it's just that you always have to pay attention to your car and, you know, pop the hood once in a while and look in there, smell it, look around, look for uncharacteristic noises, colors, and you also want to remove your engine cover, because it hides quite a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, in this one, at least it's laid out pretty well that your power steering stuff is over there, so it's outside. But still, your filler neck is here, which means if you did not remove it, sometimes this your radiator cap goes bad and it's just leaking in there, so you never really notice anything. So it'd be cool if you removed it once in a while and just looked inside. You might see things, loose clamps sometimes, but they don't just loosen themselves. Alright, cool. I'm kind of going on a tangent, but this video is basically a part 2 to what had shown earlier, that I have a leak. I bought some Nissan blue coolant, about 23 bucks per gallon. I'm treating this car really nicely, that's why I'm spoiling it. Otherwise, I'm a Prestone coolant kind of guy. So I'm gonna get that in there, and if I do have an opportunity, basically what I'll be doing is removing this reservoir and then draining coolant to at least as low as this level here, so that I can gain access to the thermostat housing. And what I usually did with these ones over here, I've repaired a few of them in the VK45DEs, is just came with a screwdriver, chipped off all the crud, and made, you know, clean the inside of the hose as well, make sure the hose is still nice and tight, because sometimes the hoses get weak, you know, kind of makes sense. So I come around here, chip at it, and then what I do is I get some good old Vaseline, apply that liberally around the neck and reclamp it. And so that would pretty much be what the part 3 of the video is going to be. Part 4 is going to be much later, after running the car for a while, coming back and looking at it and saying, were we successful in what we were trying to do? Alright, kind of long video about what I'm trying to do, but again, remember, the new theme with the M56 is that no task is too simple to not video and explain. So that's what we're going to be doing. Alright, good luck with your projects, and please, this is, before I forget, I gotta add this. This is gonna be crowdsourcing information, you know, with all my project on the M56X is gonna be. And basically, I'd like to get help from anybody else, or collaboration from anybody else with a VK56 VD engine. That is M56, of course, M56X, Armada people, the new Armada, Titan, I believe the Titan has that too, and the QX56, QX80. If you can, if those guys sometimes watch my videos, I'd appreciate if I get some help from you. Basically, go pop your hood and see what yours is saying. If you look at your at your thermostat housing, basically lower radiator hose, and you're developing some kind of crud like this one here that I showed here, or that I showed in the other engine, please let me know. And it might be as simple as just some preventative service, you know, us just getting ahead of it and doing some work on it. So again, this is going to be crowdsourcing information. We're going to try to, my goal with all these projects has always been to help everybody else out. Keep your cars on the road for as long as possible. I bought another car because I love you guys that much, for the sole purpose of seeing what could go wrong, and so that we can try to make sure we catch these things before they become catastrophes, right? So I hope that makes sense, and if I could get some responses to that, that'll be great. Otherwise, I'm gonna shut it down for the night. Good night all, and talk to you guys later.